2023. It is 6:05. This meeting's called to order. We have present Kelly Hunter, Paul Yingling, and David Douglas. Absent is Lisa Huizinga. Let's see here. Any comments or corrections, deletions, additions to our agenda for this evening that anyone has?
No.
None for me.
Okay. Do we have any, did anybody sign up to speak? I hadn't heard from anybody.
I don't have anyone in for public comment.
Okay. Let's move to the minutes then from the September 18 meeting. Does anybody have any comments here?
I don't.
No, none.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept these minutes as written?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimously, the minutes are unanimously accepted. All right. You know, in our old business, I don't know that I have anything new to update us on the CUSP projects. I think we're kind of in a state of hold right now until we get some resolution on the Kirkpatrick Family Fund grant application, and in addition to that, action by the Board of Trustees with respect to the budget recommendation to provide the funding to match some amount of the SFA and furworm grant. So our budget that we developed last meeting, I think I wrote that up and sent it to all of you, and it was accepted as written, no changes. And I sent that to Becky. So I think we're presenting, I say we, I am presenting to the Board of Trustees on what is it, November is it the 8th, Bo?
It's actually November 14th.
14th, okay. So we'll see what the response is to that at that time. So next item is sort of was new business last meeting. We tabled this, although we voted to prepare a recommendation to the Board of Trustees, or we voted to send our prepared letter to the Board of Trustees recommending a demand letter be sent to CSU. But after our meeting, I got a call from oh gosh, where are my notes? Doug Lyons, who is the Vegetation Management Program Manager for CSU, and he was very nice and came up to Green Mountain Falls to meet with me and to go around and look at some of the areas that we were, you know, have some concerns about. He brought with him some materials that I included in our package tonight. He brought me a lot of stuff. Some of it I couldn't copy because it's on colored paper and it just turned out black, so it wouldn't transmit. So I sent you what I could copy. But he said the guidelines for what they do are very specific, and they follow what is required by a number of quasi governmental bodies and also government requirements on the utilities for maintaining their utility rights of way. So what we did was, he showed me what to look for in terms of the voltage for power lines. And the voltage of the power line is actually what determines what they need to do to remediate any hazard. So he said that when you look at poles, utility poles, always, this is a rule, always the very topmost wire is your highest voltage line. And he said, in the case of Green Mountain Falls, the highest voltage line that is running through our neighborhood is 7,200 kilovolts, kV. So in the case of a high voltage line, the tree that could be offending to that line has to be within 10 feet. If it's not within 10 feet, they have no responsibility. They do pruning to make sure that the limbs don't get within 8 or 10 feet of the high voltage lines. And he said in some cases, removing the hazard means that they have to cut the tree below where it might create a hazard for the 7,200 kV line. And he said that we are not responsible for cutting the tree completely to the ground. We're responsible for removing it as a hazard within a certain number of feet of our high voltage line. So he took me around and showed me cases where they had remediated and removed the hazard. He said the second line, transmission line, is going to be 115 kilovolts or and 230 kilovolts, and their responsibility is the tree has to be greater than 20 feet from the line. So if it is not within 20 feet, they don't have to do anything. So anyway, I'm just kind of trying to hit some of these high points here. But he said that everything that they've done, including bringing Asplund in last summer and doing all of their pre-trimming, and at that same time they took out any hazards to their high voltage lines. He said just because somebody has a dead tree that they're concerned about falling on a power line doesn't mean it's our responsibility to move it or to remove it. If it's not, he said we have to observe the property owner. So if it's on private property, we're not obligated to move it unless it falls within the specific guidelines that we have. So really, in spending some time, what I came away with is we probably need to all become better educated about what the responsibility of the Colorado Springs utilities is as it relates to trimming and removal of trees. And then I think that it needs to be part of our education of the public of who's got what responsibility or what. So that, we can better educate people in terms of what their personal responsibility is versus what CSU's responsibility is. Now, if a tree is on town-owned property, in other words, the rights of way, we talked about why CSU would not allow CUSP to cut certain trees within a certain distance of the lines. And Doug said, I'd like to know who told you that, because that is not true. If you're in the process of doing a remediation project, and if it's not a high voltage line, we do not have any objection to someone removing a tree within a certain number of feet of our line. So my next step there is to get him, Doug Lyons, and Adrian together for a discussion so that we can get clarity on what Adrian is allowed to do, because that's been one of the major areas of miscommunication, I think. So I'll stop talking and see if y'all have any questions or comments about this.
Hey, David, are all the agencies looking at the same references, so that if we were to, ask the same question of the Colorado State Forest Service and of CUSP and of Colorado Springs Utilities and, the Topeka Park Fire District, that everyone would go to the same source and have the same answer? Because I think one of the challenges we have is we don't seem to have that. We seem to have individual organizations with their own doctrine and documents, but no one-stop shop to know what regulations and requirements exist.
Well, I don't know that it's, I think part of it is let me see how would I put this. It's exercising too much caution unnecessarily. So if CUSP has a crew in doing work, maybe they are not sure how to identify a low voltage line versus a high voltage line. So they just take the approach that we're going to assume everything is high voltage and we're not going to touch it within a certain distance of the line. So they're making assumptions rather than getting an answer. Doug Lyons said, look, my job is to, be a resource for everyone as it relates to vegetation along our infrastructure. And, as I said earlier, he gave me several pamphlets. One is the Utility Arborist Association, which is entitled Utility Pruning of Trees. Another one is Best Management Practices, Utility Pruning of Trees, that was developed by the International Society of Arboriculture. And then finally, the one I sent y'all is also a U.S. Forestry Service approved document called Recognizing Tree Hazards. And then I sent you all the Colorado Springs utility specifications for trimming and removal of trees. So that's why I said when I started talking here that I think this is an education issue, and it's a matter of not only educating ourselves, but our residents and those contractors who are working for us to know what they can and cannot do. And Paul, there's just a gap in what people think they've heard or what they think they've been told, or, getting to the right person to get the right answer. It's a communication nightmare in some ways. That's why I think if I can get um, Adrian to talk to Doug Lyons and get this resolved on what they can cut with, and it's like Doug said, if they're afraid to cut, we're happy to come and take a line down until they're done. But he said that means a lot of very close coordination, because we have to come and drop the line. Then they have to do their work and they have to tell us when they want us to come back and reconnect the line. So he said that's a lot of coordination, but he said these low voltage lines, that really is not necessary. If it's to accommodate contractors who are concerned about cutting too close to a power line. He said a low voltage line, even if you dropped a tree on it and the low voltage line hits the ground, he said it's the same voltage that you're using in your house. So he said it is unlikely that line is going to, even if it's still live, is going to create a fire or spark a fire. And he said the reason that I'm saying even if it's still alive is, he said, when we have a break in a line, we have circuit breakers that automatically trip and cut the power off to the line at the pole. So he said we have plenty of built-in preventions to eliminate the hazards of the electrical lines.
Boy, that really clarifies a lot.
Yeah, he said, clearly the high voltage lines are the most dangerous.
Yeah.
And he said, but the high voltage lines are, he said, we drove around town and all of the high voltage lines are essentially along the roadways. So, you don't have a high voltage line that is, is any closer to somebody's house than because it's in the right of way of the utility right of way and the town roadway rights of way. He said, I'm not aware of any high voltage line that runs down an undeveloped right of way. He said, typically what we're doing is coming off the high voltage line with the low voltage line to feed, into the neighborhood. So,
Well, do they have breakers that do the same on the high voltage lines?
yes,
Okay.
they do. They do.
So it really is, there's a lot of safety built into it, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I would like for us to retract the vote that we took last meeting to recommend to the Board of Trustees that we recommend them sending a demand letter to CSU, because I based on my meeting with Doug Lyons, they're fulfilling their responsibilities. And if we believe they are not, he said, call me and I'll come up here and I'll look at the grievance and I'll be happy to explain to somebody, if we don't feel that it's within our responsibility, why? And if it is our responsibility, we will have somebody come and remediate the problem. He did take me to a couple of areas where there are problem trees that are their responsibility. And he said, what we need is when you see a tree that you believe is a hazard, you need to take a picture of the nearest pole number of that tree and the physical address of the closest property. And he said, if you can send me a picture of the tree, the pole number, and the address of the property, we will determine whether or not that tree is a hazard that we need to remediate. And he said, we will come and take care of it right away.
David, if you want to phrase that in a way that we can vote on it, I would vote to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
To do what? I'm not sure.
To not send a demand letter.
Oh, okay. I think it's fairly simple. I would say, I make a motion that the committee retract its recommendation to the Board of Trustees for a demand letter to be sent to Colorado Springs Utilities to remove trees that are improperly identified as being hazards.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. We will withdraw our recommendation to the Board of Trustees.
What a wealth of information when going from what sounded like they were unwilling to be cooperative to they want to reach out and be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, this guy he's an older gentleman. He said, I've been doing this for, I don't remember what he said, 20, 30 years. And he said, I'm up here all the time. And he said, in fact, we actually went to some sites that were complaints that we had gotten from some of our residents. We went to their site, looked at what their complaint was, and he explained that, yeah, these are issues, but they're not our issues. He said they do not fall, the hazard that's present is not within the definition of our responsibility to remediate the hazard. He said it is on private property. The trees are not close enough to the line that we would necessarily need to do any hazard remediation. He said it's simply a case of the homeowner needs to remove the tree. So he said, these places that you're, one of them, I can't remember what the address was, but he said, we've already come and with Adrian Knight and discussed these trees. And he said, what it's going to take is somebody to climb the tree and bring it down. There were several of them. They're all dead. But he said, it's not something that's within our responsibility to do. So, he said, I'm willing to, if people want to call and say, hey, I believe this is a problem. He said, the first thing I would ask them, give me your address, give me your poll number, and give me a picture of the tree. I want to see that. I'll be happy to come up and look at it and explain it to you. He said, I'm up here all the time, so it's not any big deal. So he was, very, I think people sometimes don't like the answer, but they are following the industry guidelines and state guidelines for the utilities and doing what they have to do. But I do think it would be helpful if we could come up with um, and he gave me a stack of information, and said that I think he has put this same stuff at town hall. Bo, do you know, are you aware of any of this, these brochures that may be at town hall to give to people?
No, I haven't seen that, and I just learned a lot listening to that. Good job.
Well, I found, I learned a lot in talking to him, and I think that it would be helpful if we all become as educated as we can, so that we can help people understand and truly identify where we think there's a problem tree, that it is CSU's responsibility, and how to report that to them. So, Bo, if you get people that are coming to town hall and complaining, you should say, and maybe what we need to do is develop a little talking sheet and go, here are the 3 steps you need to do. Take a picture of the tree you're concerned about, the pole number that's closest to the tree, and what your address is, and send it to this guy, Doug Lyons with CSU, and they will respond to you.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's a good plan. Let's get together and make that happen.
Okay. I think that's the way we could be a good service to our town residents as it relates to nuisance trees. And then, like I said, I need to get Adrian and Doug together to resolve this issue of what CUSP can and cannot cut. I just hadn't made that a priority, because I want to wait and see how all the funding shakes out in advance of proceeding with our right-of-way project. Okay. Everybody satisfied with that?
Yes.
Yeah, I
that
think that's a
sounds
good plan moving
Yeah.
Yeah,
forward.
great work, David.
Okay. So do we have an update on our education program, Kelly? I saw in the minutes where you and Lisa were going to get together and develop something for a meeting tonight.
Well, it sounded like that, but then that wasn't going to work in this month. She felt it was insufficient time to put something together. So no, there is no update. And my concern with doing anything with education is, as we're rolling into November and the holidays, I don't know that we would have sufficient attendance at anything like this for people to show up in person. Maybe the monthly tip and stuff like that is fine, but people start getting so busy. I think it would be an exercise in frustration at this point.
Yeah, this was really not intended to be something that was, what are we going to do in November and what, or December. It was more like, let's put together a list of education topics and formats for how we would do that as a first draft, and then figure out what's the proper timing to plan those things and give appropriate advance notification, advertisement, whatever, to let people know that we're going to be providing that. So it was more like a straw man of a program with topics, timing, etc.
Yeah, what Lisa had suggested was doing another mitigation 101, like we did at Church in the Wildwood. I don't know that that would be well attended this time of year when we're going into snow season.
Right. Okay.
So I'm thinking at this point, the best thing that we can do is the monthly tips. And especially with the holidays coming up, and then you're dealing more with not forest fires so much as house fires.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So are you and Lisa going to be working on this so that, we can pull something together, or what is the
Working on what?
developing a program over the course of the next, I don't know, 12 months, okay, so November is not a great time to do a mitigation 101. But it will be at some point in time, right? And it would be.
Yeah, I think in the spring is another time to do that again and offer that again. We wanted to do it when we did the first time, so we could catch the summer residents before they left.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if you were to develop sort of a calendar for 2024 that says we want to educate on this particular topic, fire mitigation 101, in April or
Yeah.
whatever date you pick. But just maybe you want to do something every other month.
Yeah.
Maybe, February, April, June, August, sort of, that, and I'm just throwing something out here.
Yeah,
But
I can talk to her about that.
yeah, okay. All right. Monthly tip. Paul has developed one that he sent out late this afternoon. That's exactly what I think you were just talking about there, Kelly.
Yes, Kelly, if we had rehearsed this, it couldn't have been any better. Yeah, so this monthly tip is on the home fire awareness, specifically having to do with furnaces and boilers, everything from keeping vents clear to doing routine maintenance to proper installation. And as Kelly pointed out, I think, especially because it may be that for some folks, this month is the first time their furnace is kicked on and stayed on for 24 straight hours. So it may be a useful reminder to be thinking about furnace safety. I realized I have to change my filters when I was working this up. So
Yeah, I just had someone in the other day from WireNut to inspect my furnace and do maintenance on it, and it was like $79 to do that. But yeah, that you should be swapping out your filters every month. And not just because there's dirt in them, but just simply to extend the life of the furnace.
right.
So the motor's not working so hard.
Yeah, it has multiple benefits. It's just, good routine maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this also addresses smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms, something we've spent a little bit of time on. So that's my thought is as we get into the winter months, do something this month for November around furnaces and boilers, and then something in December related to Christmas holidays, whether it's lighting, Christmas trees in homes, all the rest.
Yeah, candles, all that stuff.
Yes, exactly. Things that aren't normally in the home now will be, and so that's new hazards.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
And maybe, I don't know if you have on there doing chimney inspections and cleanings. Is that in there too, Paul? I haven't had a chance to read this.
Well, it's on the screen now. I don't know if y'all are looking.
I don't see anything about having someone inspect the chimney. Because I know every year I like, if I've used the fireplace, I like to have a guy come out and inspect the chimney, make sure the chinking is good, so there's no chimney fires or anything like that, or everything's clean, or is that in that fire mitigation?
there's a item 7, is make sure your furnace exhaust system is properly sized for your chimney connector pipes and they're cleaned and inspected each
Oh,
year.
good, perfect. See how smart you are?
I don't know about that, but yeah, I can Google. So yeah. And then the bottom has the QR code. David, I also forwarded this both in Word and PDF because I know Carolyn had some challenges manipulating the document when it's only in PDF. So I included, pardon me, I included the Word version as well.
Okay. Good. Well, I think this is a timely and good tip of the month.
Yeah,
So I move that we adopt this as the November fire mitigation tip of the month.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous, Paul. That's your November tip.
Okay, we'll get it out this week.
All right, thank you. Okay, back to our agenda. I have one person who I need to add to our database, Paul. I don't know if we've gotten any other additions recently since our last meeting.
We are at 74 with an addition of 2 in September.
Okay.
And those were both QR code, or they look to be QR code entries. Like I didn't manually input them. I don't think anyone else did. Looks like they just, scanned the code or went to the link and signed up. So they'll be getting their first tip this week.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's good that we're continuing to add to it here. Any updates on volunteer groups or block captains or
Not for me.
no?
No, nothing for me, David. And it's kind of like Kelly's earlier comment about programming. I think recruitment it's tough in the winter. People are
Yeah,
indoors
yeah.
more. We see each other less. There are
Yeah.
fewer people in town.
Well, okay. I understand. Everybody gets hunkered down.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yep. Yeah, and you don't see your neighbors again till spring.
Well, let's move on to the ordinance number 2023-24, which is a new ordinance regarding the committee tenures. And apparently this was born out of the fact that it was difficult for town management to track the length of time that committee members had served. And in the old ordinance, I believe everybody was a 3-year term. However, the issue was sort of how do we know when their term started and when does it end? So this new ordinance is attempting to reestablish a way to have better visibility on committee member tenure and tracking. Bo, am I saying that right?
Yep, I think you nailed it.
Okay. So what we have been asked to do is essentially we're supposed to put forward a memo to the Board of Trustees, which I think is included in the package here, which essentially says here, effective January 1, 2024, here are our committee members. Can you scroll to that, please? Bo? It's down. It's number 8. No, number 9. There you go. Okay, so in my case, my end of term is 12/31/23, and that's, I mean, that is the actual end of my term, because I was originally appointed November 17 of 20 when we first stood up the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee. And I was supposed to serve for 3 years. So since we really didn't get started until I think the first meeting was in December, it's sort of organizational. That makes it about right. I mean, I'm at the end of my 3-year term. So in the case of Paul, does that date look right for you, Paul?
Yeah, I believe, well, I can't speak for certain when the board actually approved my request, but that is the time when I started working with you and with the committee. But I don't know the board date specifically.
Okay.
It-
Go ahead.
Well, I say this does kind of beg the question, since the board has to approve every membership, isn't this information already in Board of Trustee meeting minutes?
Yes.
We have it. It's a little bit trickier than, yeah, it's crazy. So, past town staff for some time now, for some years, staff has interpreted an appointment as a new appointment from the date of that appointment. And I think in many cases, that appointment should have been limited to complete the term of the vacated seat. So the issue isn't as much as like, oh, we don't know, when you were appointed or whatever, but I think unintentionally people have had longer terms than our code really specifies. So I delved into it. I couldn't even wrap my head around it. It was kind of a mess. And that started a much bigger conversation about all this stuff, residency, and it goes on and on when you get legal involved. But at the heart of it, we figured out what we should have been doing, which is basically this. The one thing that's really changing is loosening up residency requirements for FMAC and PRTAC, as well as just creating uniformity around 2-year terms. So this will be the last year that there's any 1-year terms, and then all future appointments after the end of this year will be 2-year terms. So we're doing 1-year terms for this cycle so that we don't have like full committee turnover, trying to maintain continuity and get away from, having all members, all seats be up for grabs at each appointment cycle. So I don't know if that helped or just made it more confusing.
Can you
but-
put the,
I'm looking at that date of appointment for Lisa. That's wrong.
yeah, it is. That's the one that's just glaringly wrong. Unless what they did was, going back to what Bo said about somebody taking a vacated position, in which case Lisa might have taken the vacated position
Oh,
of Dan Batten, let's say. I don't remember. So in that case, it would have gone all the way back to Dan Batten's appointment. I'm guessing, okay. I'm positing a possible explanation here. So what we're doing essentially is doing a reset. If you could put up the ordinance, I think that would be helpful to give us instruction, Bo, on what we're supposed to do. Could you show that?
The board minutes from that meeting.
No, the actual ordinance.
Oh, the ordinance. Sorry, I thought you said the board minutes. Hang on one sec.
Okay, good, thank you. Then scroll down, if you will, to that first section. So what our instructions, I think what we have to look at here is 2 members shall be appointed to a 1-year term, and 3 members shall be appointed to a 2-year term ending on December 31. So that's what we have to do tonight is, isn't that right, Bo? Is we have to, through this document, this memo that we're submitting to the Board of Trustees, we're going to say, we're going to sort of fill in the blanks. What is, now is that the original? Let's see, section is hereby amended to read as follows. Okay. And then what is the 2173B? And that is 2 members shall be appointed to a 1-year term and 3 members to a 2-year term ending December 31. So what we have to do here tonight, there's only 4 of us. There's Kelly, Lisa, Paul, and me. And I think what we're supposed to do is fill this out to say, how long is our term going to be from January 1st? We're forgetting when we actually show our term beginning. Is that right, Bo? I mean, we're kind of setting that aside.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're just kind of scrapping the whole thing and
So
starting
what we're going to
over.
say is everybody is beginning their term beginning January 1 of 24. And the only decision to be made here is who's going to be taking a 1-year term and who's going to be taking a 2-year term. Right?
I think you nailed it.
Okay. So, and then I am going to have to submit a new application to join the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee to be approved by the board because I've already termed out. Right, Bo?
Yeah, I don't think you're termed out, but I think your term is set to turn over. So,
well, I'm just
or
saying,
reset or whatever.
under the old ordinance, I have run my first term, which is 3 years, and that expires the end of December. So if I want to continue on with the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee, going forward, I have to submit a new application that will have to be voted on and approved by the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee and submitted to the Board of Trustees at the same time we present this memo so that I can continue on from January 1 of 24.
Yeah, that's right.
In that process, are we allowed to request that you be elected as chair again?
I mean, we could put that in the memo if you want to go back to the memo, Bo. So
Yeah, in the memo, it does ask you to designate who the chair will be.
Hold it. It asks us to say who the chair will be when David's term expires.
Well, it's
This is like an election in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, it's a little.
Well, I think it's more, in case he doesn't want to do it anymore or something like that, you could,
Oh no, I get it, David. Believe me, cheering you on. I want you to continue, but it just seems like an odd request. Like,
It's unusual. Yeah. So
okay.
Well, I know I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I'm happy to hold David's coat while he fights our battles.
So I think what we have to focus on is the 2024 recommendations for appointment to Board of Trustees.
Okay.
I think and I think, so we would put, Paul, Kelly, Lisa in the name column,
Okay,
appropriately. So, if you don't, Kelly, you said you don't, you don't want to be the chair.
nope,
I don't know if you want to be the co-chair,
nope.
but if you don't want either one, then your name would go beside member. So you would be a member. Now, what I'm a little confused by is what really matters is that very last column, which is term length, and we have to specify how long your term will be. And that would, be 1 year or 2 years. So we're gonna have to designate now I've forgotten. Is it 3 1-year terms or 3 2-year terms?
It's 3 2-year terms, 2 1
Okay.
years. And
three-
also I do have Lisa who just came on.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Hi,
hear you.
Lisa.
Hi, Kelly. Hi, everybody.
We're glad you could make it, Lisa.
Thanks. I keep getting the meeting time wrong. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Did I have it wrong on the
No, I just had it in my head. It was something else.
okay. Okay, so we're talking about this ordinance, Lisa, and appointing for 2024 the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee members. So it's kind of like a restart of our appointment date. Everybody is going to restart to January 1, 2024. The issue is we need to appoint 3 people with a 2-year term and 2 people with a 1-year term. So what we're currently talking about is first of all, I would suggest, Lisa, that we appoint you as one of the 2-year term people simply because you're so new.
Okay.
So you've only fulfilled, just less than a year. So
Right.
I think I would recommend you as a 2-year person for sure.
Okay.
And any of this is open for discussion. I'm just kind of throwing out my thoughts here. And then, frankly, Paul, if you and Kelly want to take another 2-year term, since basically both of you have only, have been serving for a year and a half, we'll say. So that would, you originally signed up for 3 years, so they kind of put you at 3.5 in total by the time you finished. I'm happy to take a 1 year, and of course we have an open position that could be a 1 year.
That works.
Don't know how y'all feel about that. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that works for me.
And David, just to clarify, would that mean that our vacant position, let's say we fill it in March,
Yeah.
that person's term would still expire on December 31st, 2024?
Bo, I'm kind of hazy on the rules. So Bo, maybe you can answer that question.
So the expiration date will either be December 31st of 2024. That would be the 1 year expiration date. And then the 2-year would be December 31st of 2025.
So it
the
really
terms
doesn't matter.
always end on the 31st.
Yeah, so everyone's
Okay.
gonna end at the end of the year. And just what year is it? And then the idea is moving forward, we would have, kind of a staggered turnover, not all committee members would turn over at the same year end.
That's
And so
confusing.
it doesn't matter when somebody's appointed. Let's say this open chair that we currently have, let's say that we recruit somebody and they come on board in April and they're a 1-year term, their term would still end at December 31, 2024.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then interpreting that wrong was
You're kind of breaking up.
Yeah, David, I'm not hearing Bo either. Just a
Me
little bit
neither.
of choppy audio.
Yeah.
We're not hearing you, Bo.
internet connection was unstable.
Okay. We're hearing you now.
Okay. Yeah, David, I think you got that exactly right when you said that, if somebody were to fill that vacancy mid-year, they would, by virtue of, that being the only 1-year seat available, that's the only seat would be a 1-year seat. So they would come up again.
So let's just say it's me that's taken 1 year and whoever the newcomer is a 1-year person. Then at the end of 24, we could make application for a 2-year tenure beginning January 1st, 2025. Is that right?
For the 2025 appointment, there who's by looking to use.
You're breaking up really badly.
Oh,
Yeah, we're not really able to hear what you're saying.
is this any?
Not really. Is everybody there? Hello?
Email.
I can.
Hello? Hello?
Hey, you.
Yeah, I lost the connection and then it came back right away without me having to do anything.
Me too.
Well, Bo, are you there?
I am here. Yep, I got you guys good.
Okay, good. We got you back. So I think we're getting close to zeroing in on this. So just for the purpose of understanding, if I take a 1-year term that begins January 1 of 24, when we get to the end of 24, December 31, I could reapply for a 2-year term beginning January 1 of 25. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay. And then the people who are going to have a 2-year term at the end of 2 years, if they wanted to stay on, they could reapply for another 2 years.
That's right as well.
Okay. So that means that we'll always at year end have either 2 people reapplying or 3 people reapplying or not, you know. But
Yes,
it's
that's
always gonna
exactly
be
right.
December 31 of every year.
Perfectly stated.
Okay, all right. So that being the case, for the purpose of, and so just so we're fully on board, I'm going to write up a new committee application requesting that, you know, I be appointed by the Board of Trustees with the approval of the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee for a 1-year term. So that's, I've got to fill those papers out, and then we'll have to approve that at the next meeting. And so it can be submitted along with this memo to the Board of Trustees at the which meeting? Is it December? What, Bo?
There's a December 12th meeting and a November 14th meeting.
Yeah, but I think it's the December 12th meeting that all this has to be turned in.
Yeah, definitely by then.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So if somebody wants to apply for that vacant position on the Fire Mitigation Committee, and Jason Willems does want to apply, would this upcoming month, November, be the time for him to do that?
Yeah, getting that application in ASAP would be really good. And then if you guys could approve that application or look at it, consider it at your next meeting so that there's time for it to make it to BOT by December 12th. I think that would be the best practice.
Okay, because he's on the fire department as a volunteer. And has the ruling changed as to where the person has to?
Yes, we it's no longer a requirement that you have to be a resident of Green Mountain Falls.
Okay, because he's just a hair over the line where he lives, but he's on our fire department. So, all right, I will let him know.
Okay. All right. Yeah, he needs to get his application in so that he can be considered. Okay, so if everybody's all right with this, I was gonna, you know, complete this document and, you know, so that Paul, Kelly, and Lisa will be appointed for 2 years, beginning January 1, 2024. I will put myself in as a 1-year term. And so I'll basically fill this document out. And so what we need to decide is who, you know, we're recommending. I guess it's sort of like we're making an election right now, but who we're going to put in as a recommendation for chair and co-chair.
Lisa, while you were away.
What was that?
You were,
I was
Bo, we're kind of not hearing you.
Bo, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you well.
Okay, well, we can hear you well now. Was it
In
Paul?
and out here.
Was it Paul that was trying to talk?
No, I think that was Bo's audio cutting in and out.
Okay.
But Dave, to your question, I mean, my recommendation to the committee would be that you continue on as chair.
Me
if you're
too.
do that.
Okay. And Paul, are you saying you would continue as co-chair?
Yes, I'd be happy to if that's the committee's consensus.
Oh, I would love that.
Okay.
Well, why don't we put this to, why don't we put this to a vote? Just so, you know, it's official, and then I can fill out the paperwork and we'll approve it at the next meeting for all of this to be presented as a package to the Board of Trustees at their December 14th meeting. And I think I have the timing of all that right, Bo, that's when it's required, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to fill this document out. Lisa, do you remember what your date was of appointment?
I don't. Let me see if I can find it on my
Would you-
phone here.
Okay.
Mm.
But so the motion here is that committee will and that would be me that actually does it, complete this Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee agenda memo. I think that's what it's called. Yes. For formal approval in our next meeting, with David Douglas recommended as the chair for an appointment of 1 year, Paul Yingling recommended as co-chair for an appointment of 2 years, Kelly Hunter as a member appointed for 2 years, Lisa Heisinger appointed as a member for 2 years, and a yet to be determined member for an appointment of 1 year. And this document will be presented at our next meeting of the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee, along with applications for membership, all to be voted on for presentation to the Board of Trustees as our recommendation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I
Aye.
Okay, very good.
Okay, and I just texted a message to Jay asking him to submit his application now for approval, and that we're really excited that he's considering this.
Okay,
So,
all righty. Could you scroll down, Bo? Am I missing anything else on this document? I can't fully see it.
The note on the bottom on this version that was included in the packet isn't right. So it still has what you and I were talking about earlier, David. There's that stuff. So the one that I sent today is corrected there.
Okay, all right. Okay, that was our final agenda item. Lisa, did you have anything this evening that you wanted to report or talk about?
no, I think I was appointed in May or June of 23, but
I
I
think
can.
Yeah, that's about right. I'll go and look at the minutes and I can confirm it.
Okay.
that sounds about right to me too, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And then Lisa, you and I need to get together to talk about our plans for the upcoming months
Okay.
for education.
And if
Sounds
let's see
good.
here. Yeah. I'm happy to talk to y'all. Like, of course, we can't do it all three of us together because that would represent a quorum, and then we'd have to, Anyway, I can talk to y'all separately if you want to, kind of bounce the ideas of what you're thinking.
Okay,
I have a bit of information. Lisa, your application was approved at this committee meeting that was held May 29th. And
Okay.
then BOT looked at it in mid-June. So mid-June would be your
Okay.
official appointment date from the board.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right.
All right, Lisa, anything else? That you want
Sounds
to-
good. Nope. Maybe we can get together soon, Kelly. That'd be great.
yeah,
Okay, so I wanted to look at the calendar real quick. I think I want to have our next meeting earlier than what we should have, mainly because of the upcoming board meeting and because of Thanksgiving. Let's see here, November. So what day is Thanksgiving? Is it the 23rd or yeah, it must be the 23rd.
Yeah, it's the 23rd.
Uh,
So do you want to do it
Um,
on the 27th?
Yeah, that would be our regular scheduled meeting. So I just want to make sure that works for everybody.
Yes, for me.
Okay, we should be able to conduct our business on the 27th, which would be timely for getting our recommendation to the board. Do you have that memo from Becky? Because she says that in there. Where is that in our packet? Bo? Okay, yes, December 12th. Yeah. Yeah. So just so if we have that meeting on the 27th and conduct all of this, we'll be able to meet this deadline right here. Okay, that's what I wanted to be sure of. All right, everybody. Unless people got something else they want to bring up, new business wise, I think we're done.
Okay.
All right, well, thanks, everybody. Thank you, David, Bo.
Okay, we're adjourning this meeting at seven, sorry, 7:17, is that right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So this concludes our meeting.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
thanks,
you.
thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you all
Thank you.
very much.
Good night.
David, nice work with CSU. That was really good.
Okay, great. I'm glad it helped.
That's going to be a big help.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Night.
Bye all.
Night.